Hey everyone, Sarah here. Rewind Justice brings you revenge stories that will blow your mind. If you're ready, hit subscribe and let's go.
The silence around the Thanksgiving table was deafening. 23 people had heard my mother's question. 23 people now stared at the certified mail receipts I'd placed on the tablecloth between the turkey and the sweet potato casserole. My sister Jennifer's fork clattered against her plate. "That's impossible," she whispered. I smiled politely and pushed the receipts closer to my parents. 3 invitations. 1 to Mom and Dad. 1 to Jennifer. 1 to Grandma. All sent certified mail, signature required. All delivered to this address on March 15, 2018. All signed for by. I paused, meeting Jennifer's eyes. "Well, you can read the signatures yourself." My mother's hand trembled as she reached for the papers. Her face had gone from holiday dinner pink to ash gray. Dad leaned over her shoulder, his reading glasses sliding down his nose. "Jennifer Marie Peterson," he read aloud. "All 3 receipts. Signed by Jennifer." "I can explain," Jennifer started. "Can you?" I asked softly. "Because I'd love to hear how you explain intercepting wedding invitations, forging Mom and Dad's response cards with 'unable to attend,' and then spending 6 years letting them believe I never got married. 6 years of holiday dinners where Mom asked when I'd finally settled down. 6 years of you positioning yourself as the golden child with the perfect family while I was the perpetual disappointment." My brother-in-law Marcus had gone very still. Their 3 children mercifully were in the basement playroom. "Alex," Jennifer said, her voice shaking. "You don't understand." "Then help me understand." I kept my tone conversational, pleasant even. The same tone I used in boardroom negotiations. "Help me understand why you stole my wedding invitations." I'd been the family disappointment for as long as I could remember. Not because I'd failed at anything, quite the opposite. I'd graduated summa cum laude from Cornell, earned my MBA from Wharton, and landed a position at a prestigious consulting firm before I turned 25. But in my family, those achievements meant nothing compared to Jennifer's chosen path. Jennifer was 2 years older, married at 23 to her college sweetheart Marcus, pregnant with their first child by 25. She'd chosen family over career, tradition over ambition. And my parents worshipped her for it. "When are you going to find a nice man and settle down?" Mom asked at every gathering. "You're 28 now. Your sister already has 2 children." "I'm focused on my career," I'd reply. "Career won't keep you warm at night," Dad would mutter. "Career won't give us grandchildren." The truth was I'd been dating Daniel Chun for 3 years. He was a senior partner at a different consulting firm. We'd met at an industry conference in Chicago. He was brilliant, kind, successful, and understood my drive because he shared it. We traveled for work constantly, which meant we'd kept our relationship mostly private. Not secret, just ours. When Daniel proposed during a weekend in Paris, I was deliriously happy. We wanted a small wedding, 75 guests, mostly close friends and professional colleagues. But I sent invitations to my parents, my grandmother, and Jennifer. Because despite everything, they were my family. I should have known better. The week before the wedding, Mom called. "We received your response card," she said, her voice tight. "I'm very disappointed, Alexandra." "What response card?" "The one declining your wedding invitation. Though I notice you didn't even have the courtesy to call and tell us you were engaged. We had to find out from a mailed invitation like we're strangers." My stomach dropped. "Mom, I never received a response card from you." "Well, someone sent it. It has my signature on it." I'd stared at the phone, my mind racing. But I was drowning in final wedding preparations, vendor confirmations, and a major client presentation the week after the honeymoon. I didn't have time to investigate. The wedding was beautiful. 75 guests at a boutique vineyard in Napa Valley. Daniel's family was warm and welcoming. My best friend Sarah stood as my maid of honor. My mentor from Cornell walked me down the aisle since Dad wasn't there. And my family was absent. Empty space where they should have been. "Maybe it's better this way," Daniel said on our honeymoon in Bali. "You can build your life without their constant criticism." He wasn't wrong. The years after the wedding were transformative. Daniel and I bought a brownstone in Brooklyn. I made senior partner at my firm by 30. We traveled extensively, Tokyo, Dubai, London, Sao Paulo. We built a friend group of brilliant, driven people who celebrated our successes instead of resenting them. And we stayed away from my family. Oh, I still showed up for major holidays. Thanksgiving, Christmas, occasional birthdays. But I came alone. When Mom asked about my personal life, I deflected. When Dad made snide comments about my selfish career focus, I smiled and changed the subject. Why don't you just tell them? Sarah asked after one particularly brutal Christmas dinner where Jennifer had announced her third pregnancy while Mom passive-aggressively mentioned my empty life. Because I'm watching, I said. Watching what they reveal about themselves when they think I'm less than I am. And what they revealed was illuminating. Jennifer positioned herself as the family success story. The devoted mother, the selfless daughter. She coordinated every family event, managed Mom and Dad's calendar, positioned herself as indispensable. And she did it all while dropping subtle reminders of my failures. It's so sad Alex focuses only on work, she'd sigh. She doesn't know what she's missing. Some people aren't meant for family life, Mom would agree. I'd smile and take mental notes. Meanwhile, Daniel and I thrived. We bought a weekend house in the Catskills. I was promoted to managing partner of my division. Daniel launched his own consulting firm and I invested early. Our combined net worth crossed 8 figures by the time I turned 33. We talked about kids. Not yet, we decided. Maybe in a few years. For now, we were traveling the world, building our careers, creating a life that was entirely ours. And my family had no idea any of it existed. The shift happened 6 months ago at Jennifer's youngest daughter's birthday party. I'd brought an expensive gift. A custom American Girl doll that cost more than I'd ever admit to my parents. That's too extravagant, Jennifer said, her smile tight. You're going to make the other gifts look bad. She's my niece. I wanted to get her something special. You're trying to buy affection because you don't have children of your own, she said quietly so only I could hear. It's transparent and sad. I'd simply smiled. But something crystallized in that moment. I was done protecting them from the truth. That night, I told Daniel I wanted to tell my family everything at Thanksgiving. About our marriage. About our life. About exactly who I'd become while they'd dismissed me. Are you sure? He asked. Once you do this, there's no going back. I'm sure. I want them to know what they missed. What Jennifer stole from them. Because I'd done my homework. 3 years ago, I'd hired a private investigator. Not to dig up dirt, but to answer one simple question. What happened to my wedding invitations? The PI had found everything. Jennifer had intercepted all 3 certified mail envelopes. She'd forged the response cards in my parents' and grandmother's handwriting. She'd even called the venue pretending to be my mother, confirming that the family wouldn't be attending due to a scheduling conflict. She'd systematically erased my wedding from my family's awareness. And then she'd spent 6 years positioning herself as the successful daughter while I was the career-obsessed spinster. The investigator's report sat in my safe at home. Alongside photos from my wedding. Copies of our marriage license. Deed to our Brooklyn brownstone. Deed to our Catskills property. Documentation of my professional achievements. Awards, promotions, board positions. And the certified mail receipts. 3 green cards with Jennifer's signature. I'd been saving it all for the right moment. Thanksgiving 2024 would be that moment. Alex, please, Jennifer said now, her voice breaking. Can we discuss this privately? Why? I asked. You made your choices publicly. 6 years of public comments about my empty life. My loneliness. My inability to find love. You did that in front of everyone. So we can address the truth in front of everyone too. Mom finally found her voice. You've been married for 6 years? 6 years, 3 months and 12 days, I confirmed. Beautiful ceremony in Napa Valley. 75 guests. You, Dad, Grandma and Jennifer were invited. You were the only family who didn't attend. Because we never knew. Dad's voice rose. If we'd received invitations. You did receive them. I pulled out my phone, opening a prepared folder of photos. Here's the FedEx tracking showing delivery to this house. Here's the signature confirmation. And here, I turned the phone to face the table, is Jennifer signing for all 3 envelopes on your front porch. The PI got excellent camera angles. You hired a private investigator? Jennifer's face had gone from pale to splotchy red. To spy on your own family? To discover why my wedding invitations disappeared. And what else did the PI find, Jennifer? I smiled pleasantly. Should we discuss the forged response cards? The phone call you made to my wedding venue, pretending to be Mom, confirming our family's absence. Marcus pushed back from the table. Jennifer, what is she talking about? The question isn't what I'm talking about, I said. The question is why. Why did you steal my wedding invitations? Why did you spend 6 years letting Mom and Dad believe I was alone? Why did you build your perfect family image on the foundation of erasing mine? Tears streamed down Jennifer's face. You don't understand the pressure. Then explain it. She looked at Mom and Dad, then back at me. You were always the smart one. The successful one. Perfect grades, perfect career, perfect everything. I was just the daughter who got married young. And when you got engaged to Daniel Chin, the consulting prodigy who started his own firm, I knew Mom and Dad would realize you'd exceeded me in every single way. Career, marriage, everything. So you sabotaged my wedding. I delayed the information. She stood up, her chair scraping against the hardwood. I was going to tell them eventually. But then time passed and it got harder and you never said anything, so I thought maybe you didn't care if they knew. Or maybe I was testing you, I said softly. Waiting to see how long you'd maintain the lie. How deep you'd dig the hole. I pulled out another envelope from my bag. 6 years, Jennifer. 6 years of lies. Should I show them the rest? The rest. Mom's voice was barely a whisper. I laid out photos on the table like playing cards. My Brooklyn brownstone. Purchased 2019. Current value $3.2 million. Our weekend house in the Catskills. Photos from our anniversary trip to the Maldives last year. My promotion to managing partner, which came with a salary that's, well, let's just say it's substantial. I added more photos. Daniel and me at the Forbes Under 40 Summit. Us with the mayor at a charity gala. Our New Year's Eve in Sydney. I met my mother's eyes. This is my life. The life you would have known about if Jennifer hadn't stolen your invitations. The life you would have been part of if you'd been at my wedding. Grandma, who'd been silent until now, spoke up. Her voice was steel. Jennifer Marie. You intercepted my invitation too. Grandma. I asked you a question. Jennifer's shoulders sagged. Yes. I would have flown to California if I'd known, Grandma said quietly. I would have walked her down the aisle myself. You stole that from me. From all of us. I'm sorry, Jennifer sobbed. I'm so sorry. I was jealous and insecure and wrong. Yes, you were. I gathered the photos back into their envelope. And now everyone knows exactly what you did. Just like everyone spent 6 years thinking I was the family failure while you were the golden child. That's enough, Alexandra. Dad's voice had the tone he used when he wanted to shut down uncomfortable conversations. This is Thanksgiving. Family forgives. Does family forgive? I interrupted. As I sent invitations. I extended the olive branch. Jennifer cut it off and burned it. And you spent 6 years believing her narrative without ever questioning why I never mentioned being engaged. Why I never brought a +1 to gatherings. Why I deflected every question about my personal life. Mom was crying now. We should have asked more questions. We should have. You should have trusted me, I said simply. You should have known that if I was successful professionally, maybe I was successful personally too. Instead, you believed I was lonely and empty. Because that's what Jennifer wanted you to believe. I stood up, smoothing my dress. I need to make a phone call. I walked to the kitchen away from the dining room chaos. Behind me, I could hear raised voices. Dad demanding answers from Jennifer, Mom crying, Grandma's cold fury cutting through it all. I dialed Daniel. How'd it go? He asked. About as expected. You should see the looks on their faces. Want me to come get you? I glanced back at the dining room. Jennifer was crying into her hands. Mom was holding the certified mail receipts like they were contaminated. Dad's face was red with anger, not at me for once but at Jennifer. Actually, I said slowly, would you mind coming for dinner? I think it's time they met you. You sure? I'm sure. Bring the wedding album. The big one. Daniel's laugh was warm. I'll be there in 40 minutes. Love you. Love you too. I returned to the dining room. The arguments had subsided into tense silence. My husband is coming to join us, I announced. He'll be here in about 40 minutes. I thought it was time you met him properly. Your husband, Mom repeated like she was testing the words. Daniel Chin. We've been married 6 years. We have a brownstone in Brooklyn, a weekend house in the Catskills, and a very happy life together. The life we would have shared with you if you'd been at our wedding. I want to apologize, Jennifer started. I don't want your apology, I cut her off. I want you to understand what you stole. You didn't just steal 3 envelopes. You stole 6 years of my parents knowing their daughter was happily married. You stole Grandma meeting her grandson-in-law. You stole baby showers and anniversary celebrations and normal family connections. You stole all of that because you were jealous. I pulled out one more photo, my favorite from the wedding. Daniel and me under a flower arch, laughing, completely in love. This is what you prevented them from seeing. This moment. This joy. Mom reached for the photo with shaking hands. You look so happy. I am happy. I've been happy for 6 years. You just didn't know about it. Dad cleared his throat roughly. And you didn't tell us because? Because I wanted to see what you'd reveal about yourselves when you thought I was less than I am. And you revealed everything. Every dismissive comment. Every comparison to Jennifer. Every implication that my career success was somehow a failure because it wasn't accompanied by a husband and children. I let that sink in. You made your values very clear. And I made notes. That's not fair, Mom started. Fair. Kept my voice level. Was it fair to assume I was lonely just because I was focused? Was it fair to treat Jennifer like the family success story while treating me like a cautionary tale? Was it fair to never once consider that maybe I had a full life you simply weren't part of? Silence. Jennifer stole your invitations, I continued. But you made it easy for her. Because you'd already decided who I was. The career-obsessed daughter who sacrificed everything for success. You never considered that maybe I had both, career and love. You just believed what was easiest. The doorbell rang. That's Daniel, I said. When he comes in, you will be polite. You will be respectful. And you will understand that this man has been your son-in-law for 6 years. He's been my partner, my support, my teammate. Everything you should have known about. Everything Jennifer made sure you didn't know. I walked to the door, my heart pounding. This was it. The complete reveal. Daniel stood on the porch, handsome in a dark sweater, holding a large photo album and a bottle of wine. Ready? He asked quietly. Ready. We walked into the dining room together. I watched my parents' faces as they took in Daniel. Successful, confident, clearly devoted. His hand found mine automatically. Mom, Dad, Grandma, everyone, this is my husband, Daniel Chin. Daniel, this is my family. The family who wasn't at our wedding. Daniel's smile was polite but cool. Nice to finally meet you all properly. Alex has told me so much about you. I could see the questions forming. How long had we known each other? Why had we married? Where did we live? What did he do? Daniel started his own consulting firm 4 years ago. I offered. It's quite successful. He's also a guest lecturer at Columbia Business School and sits on 2 nonprofit boards. Mom found her voice. You're the Daniel Chin? From the Times article about emerging business leaders. Guilty, Daniel said easily. He set the photo album on the table. Alex thought you might like to see our wedding photos. Since you weren't there to see it in person. The album was a masterpiece, professionally bound, over 100 pages of our perfect day. Daniel opened it to the first page. The cover photo showed us under that flower arch, sunlight streaming through, pure joy on our faces. Napa Valley, Daniel explained. 75 guests. Beautiful ceremony. Alex looked absolutely stunning. He turned pages slowly. The venue. The flowers. Me in my dress. Daniel in his tux. Our first dance. Cutting the cake. Sarah's maid of honor toast. Daniel's father's welcome speech. Friends laughing. Sunset photos in the vineyard. Every page was evidence of what they'd missed. Mom was crying openly now. Dad's jaw was clenched. Grandma's eyes were wet. These are beautiful, Grandma whispered. Thank you, I said softly. It was the happiest day of my life. And you weren't there because someone decided you shouldn't be. All eyes turned to Jennifer. She'd gone silent, staring at the photos like they were physical proof of her betrayal. I need everyone to understand something, I said. This isn't about holding a grudge. This is about accountability. Jennifer made a choice that affected all of us. She chose her insecurity over her family's happiness. Over my parents' right to see their daughter get married. Over Grandma's chance to be there. Over everything. I turned to Jennifer directly. You spent 6 years building your image as the perfect daughter. The one who did everything right. The one who gave mom and dad grandchildren and Sunday dinners and traditional family values. And you built that image by tearing mine down. By making sure they saw me as incomplete. I know, Jennifer whispered. I know what I did. Do you? Because you didn't just hurt me. You hurt mom and dad. They missed their daughter's wedding. They missed 6 years of knowing I was happy. They missed knowing Daniel. They missed all of it. Because of you. Marcus stood up. Kids were leaving. Marcus, Jennifer started. Now. His voice was hard. We need to talk. Privately. He gathered their children from the basement. Within 10 minutes they were gone, Jennifer's apologies trailing behind her as Marcus ushered their family out. The door closed. Silence settled over the house. I think, Grandma said carefully, that we have a lot to talk about. But first I want to say something to you, Alexandra. She stood up and crossed to me. Her hug was tight and fierce. I'm so sorry, she whispered. I'm sorry I wasn't at your wedding. I'm sorry I didn't ask more questions. I'm sorry I let 6 years pass without really seeing you. And I'm sorry your sister did this to all of us. I hugged her back, tears finally coming. Thank you, Grandma. She pulled back and looked at Daniel. And you. I'm sorry I'm meeting you under these circumstances. But welcome to the family, dear. Even if the welcome is 6 years late. Daniel smiled. Better late than never. Mom and Dad were slower. But eventually Dad extended his hand to Daniel. I don't know what to say, Dad admitted. Except that I'm sorry. For everything we assumed. Everything we didn't ask. Everything we missed. We have time now, Daniel said simply. If you want to know us, we're here. Mom was still crying. Can you forgive us? I considered the question carefully. I can forgive you for believing Jennifer's lies. I can forgive you for not asking deeper questions. But you need to understand, our relationship is different now. You don't get to dismiss my choices anymore. You don't get to compare me to Jennifer. You don't get to assume you know who I am or what my life looks like. We understand, Mom said. Do you? Because 6 years of damage doesn't heal in one dinner. This is a starting point. Not an ending. Dad nodded slowly. What do we do now? I looked at Daniel. He squeezed my hand. Now, I said, we eat Thanksgiving dinner. And you ask us about our life. Our real life. The one you would have known about if you'd been at our wedding. And we decide together what comes next. Mom called on a Tuesday evening in February. I wanted to let you know, she said carefully. Your father and I have been in therapy. Processing everything that happened at Thanksgiving. Understanding our role in creating the dynamic that let Jennifer's deception continue. That's good, Mom. And we've set some boundaries with Jennifer. He's in therapy too. She and Marcus are working through a lot. I didn't ask for details. That was their journey. We were wondering, Mom continued, if you and Daniel would come to dinner on Sunday. Just the 4 of us. We'd like to hear about your work. Your life. Everything we missed. I looked across our living room where Daniel was reading, our rescue dog Luna curled at his feet. Our brownstone. Our life. Our peace. We'd like that, I said. We'll be there. Thank you, Mom whispered. For giving us another chance. Everyone deserves a chance to do better, I said. Even if it takes 6 years to get there. After we hung up, Daniel looked up. Sunday dinner? Sunday dinner. Just us and them. Baby steps. Baby steps, he agreed. My phone buzzed. A text from Sarah. How'd the call go? I typed back. Progress. Slow but real. Her response was immediate. Proud of you. Standing your ground paid off. He was right. Standing my ground had paid off. Not in the dramatic confrontation I'd engineered at Thanksgiving, though that had been necessary, but in the quiet recalibration happening now. My family was learning to see me as I actually was. Not as the daughter who'd failed to follow Jennifer's path, but as the woman who'd built a beautiful life they'd simply never bothered to discover. And that discovery, however late, was worth something. Daniel closed his book. What are you thinking? That I'm glad I kept the receipts, I said. Literally and figuratively. He laughed. The look on your dad's face when you pulled out those certified mail cards will live in my memory forever, I finished. We sat in comfortable silence. 6 years of marriage had taught us when words weren't necessary. My phone buzzed again. This time it was Grandma. Lunch next week? Just us. I smiled and typed back. Absolutely. Tuesday work. Perfect. I want to hear everything. All 6 years. Don't leave anything out. I won't, I promised. And I wouldn't. Because Grandma had earned the whole truth. She'd apologized without excuses. She'd set boundaries with Jennifer without being asked. She'd shown up. That's all I'd ever wanted. For someone in my family to show up. Better late than never, I supposed. Luna stretched and patted over to me, resting her head on my lap. I scratched behind her ears, thinking about the journey that had led here. The years of dismissal. Jennifer's betrayal. The decision to finally reveal the truth. The painful confrontation. And now the slow rebuilding. No regrets. Daniel asked, reading my thoughts like he always did. I considered the question. Did I regret the 6 years of distance? The decision to let them believe I was alone? The dramatic Thanksgiving reveal? No regrets, I said finally. They needed to see who they'd become. Who Jennifer had helped them become. And I needed to prove to myself that I could build a beautiful life without their validation. Mission accomplished on both counts. Mission accomplished, I agreed. Outside our window, Brooklyn was settling into evening. Lights coming on in neighboring brownstones. People walking dogs, carrying groceries, living their lives. Our neighborhood. Our community. Our chosen family of friends and colleagues who'd celebrated us from the beginning. And now, finally, a bridge being rebuilt with the family I was born into. Not perfect. Not fixed. But possible. And possibility, I'd learned, was sometimes enough. Daniel's phone rang. He glanced at the screen and smiled. It's my mom. Probably calling to remind us about Sunday dim sum. Tell her we'll be there, I said. His family had embraced me from day one. They'd been at our wedding. They'd celebrated every anniversary. They'd never needed proof that I was worthy of love. But my family was learning. Slowly. Imperfectly. But learning. As Daniel chatted with his mother in Mandarin, I opened the wedding album we'd left out since Thanksgiving. The photos still took my breath away. That perfect day. That perfect beginning to our life together. A beginning my family had missed. But the story wasn't over. We were just starting a new chapter. One where they finally knew the truth. Where I no longer had to hide the best parts of my life. Where we could maybe, eventually, build something real. It wouldn't look like Jennifer's version of family. It wouldn't be the traditional narrative my parents had always wanted. But it would be honest. And after 6 years of living behind a carefully constructed wall, honesty felt revolutionary. My phone buzzed one more time. A text from an unknown number. Alex, it's Jennifer. I know I have no right to reach out. But I wanted you to know I told the kids the truth. About what I did. About why they hadn't met Uncle Daniel. They deserved to know. I'm sorry isn't enough, but I'm working on becoming someone who would never do what I did. I hope someday you can see that. Jay. I stared at the message for a long moment. Then I showed it to Daniel. What are you going to say? He asked. Nothing. Not yet. She doesn't get absolution on her timeline. She gets it when she earns it. Fair enough. I deleted the message and set down my phone. 6 years ago, I'd sent 3 wedding invitations to my family. 3 invitations that were intercepted, destroyed, denied. But I was done letting their choices define my story. Done letting Jennifer's jealousy write my narrative. Done waiting for them to see me. I'd shown them who I was at that Thanksgiving table. I'd laid out the evidence of my beautiful life. I'd made them confront their assumptions and Jennifer's lies. No. Now I was moving forward. With or without their acceptance. With or without their apologies. With or without their understanding. Because the truth was, I didn't need them to validate my marriage. Daniel's ring on my finger did that. I didn't need them to approve my choices. My success spoke for itself. I didn't need them to celebrate my happiness. I had that with or without their presence. But if they wanted to be part of my life going forward, the real life, not the diminished version they'd imagined, they'd have to earn it. One Sunday dinner at a time. One honest conversation at a time. One small step at a time. And maybe, eventually, we'd get to something that resembled family. Or maybe we wouldn't. Either way, I'd be fine. Because I'd already built my family. Daniel. Sarah. With our friends and colleagues and chosen community. My parents were just finally being invited to see it. 6 years late. But better late than never.